campaign against the Democrats who pushed this through. A Scott's signature would take the steam out of what is probably the strongest campaign issue Republicans have in the fall election. Letting the clean heat standard become law without his signature, accompanied by a frank explanation of the problem of Democratic supermajorities that could override his veto, puts the issue off for 2 years and leaves Republicans free to hang it around Democratic necks in November. This is John McClory. Thanks for listening.
Support makes families grow stronger.
Confidence leads to better choices.
Education opens new doors.
VCTF, the Vermont Children's Trust Foundation, is a nonprofit group that raises money to fund prevention programs. At VCTF, we believe community creates good kids. We fund preschools, teen centers, literacy, parenting, and mentoring programs. Programs that promote the well-being of Vermont children and work hard to strengthen our families, encourage education, and promote healthy behavior choices. Support VCTF and help give all kids a fair chance at success.
You can help. Please donate to line 23D on your Vermont state tax return, where every dollar goes directly to helping Vermont kids. For more information, go to vtchildrenstrust.org. That's vtchildrenstrust.org.
The future depends on teachers. Every day, teachers are shaping our tomorrows, starting their students on journeys that will change the course of history. Right now, in a classroom somewhere in the United States, there's a teacher inspiring a future scientist who will make preventing pandemics their life's work, sharpening the mind of an aspiring environmentalist who will help combat climate change, and generating possibilities for a student who will be the first in their family to graduate college. It all starts with teachers who meet challenges with creativity, who reinvent education for the future, who work towards a school system that lifts up every child, regardless of race, income, or zip code, and to enable the full potential of our students, our communities, and our country. Explore a career that leaves a legacy you can be proud of. Shape the future. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
The teams you care about.
The Patriots are now closer to the bottom of the AFC than the top. That's a fact.
The stories that matter to you.
Trevor Story, man, he makes the Red Sox much, much better in 2022.
This is your home for New England sports.
I'm just wondering what happens next for UVM, because I think there could be a lot of turnover on that roster.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Yep, I think it's time to change the intro. The whole thing about Trevor Story making the Red Sox a whole lot better, I think we're going to have to can that. The crew is going to have to find some different clips. It's time. Because that's not cutting it anymore. We are a month into the season. We're almost 30 games into the season, and Trevor Story has not made the Red Sox lineup a lot better. In fact, he's been one of the worst players in the entire American League. So a new intro, hopefully by tomorrow. We are here for a full 90 minutes. What's up, everybody? It is the Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV. No Red Sox baseball today. That's a welcome relief for all of us right now. And then, so 7 o'clock, we go right up until then, and then Jazz with George Thomas takes over. I'm going to talk to you, speaking of baseball, about a little bit. I won't bore you with it, but a little bit about my eventful men's league baseball outing yesterday. Adam Kaufman of Celtics Beat, he's going to stop by in about 15 minutes, get us ready for Game 4 tonight of that series as the C's look to even up at 2-2. Neil Anderson, Norwich University men's lacrosse coach, they just punched their ticket to the NCAA tournament with a win in the GNAC final. So Neil Anderson, about 6:45, he'll be with us. You can get in on the Napa-Morrisville, Napa-Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026. Again, that's your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. Facebook Live, YouTube Live. You can also get in there. We got a lot of questions already coming in on the text line.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
Opening thoughts brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center. Locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. A lot of questions are coming in on the Red Sox already. The Red Sox are 10-19. They're in last place in the AL East. They have the second worst winning percentage in the entire American League. I will offer you in the 6 o'clock hour one small glimmer of optimism. Later in the show, I will give you one small glimmer of optimism. But right now, we've just got to do a little Tell the Truth Monday on the Red Sox. I am furious that Jarren Duran has already been sent down. Jarren Duran comes up on Friday, bats leadoff for the Red Sox, and then gets sent back to AAA when Kike Hernandez comes off the COVID IL. I'm glad that Kike is healthy. I certainly do not want him sick. I do not want him out for a prolonged period of time. But what are we doing here? I did the first 15 minutes of the show on Friday on the fact that Duran deserved to come up and that he deserved to get a long look finally. And instead, he gets 1 day. 1 day. Why is Jarren Duran still not here? Why is Jarren Duran not playing every day at this point? Is it because the Red Sox just have to have 32-year-old Jackie Bradley Jr. and his defense in the starting lineup and on the roster? Is it because the Red Sox just have to have Bobby Dahlbeck here when he's not even hitting his weight? Give me one good reason why Jarren Duran isn't still here and then isn't playing. Give me one. I'll wait for it. I get it. JBJ has played well of late, and this team is 10-19, not just because of him. But Jackie Bradley Jr. and his 200 batting average do not need to be playing every day. And if you don't want to cut him, then fine. Don't cut him. But send somebody else down to AAA. Maybe one of your pitchers that no one's ever heard of, like Tyler Danish or John Schreiber. This is the time to get a look at Duran, and this is the time to get an answer on him. We talked about this on Friday. Duran should be here, and Duran should be playing. Jackie Bradley Jr. is not going to be a part of, I think, the next great successive line of Red Sox teams. Jarren Duran might be. It's time to figure it out. Again, I don't think that playing Duran over JBJ regularly, I don't think that that is punting the season. I don't think that, you're not getting rid of a guy who's hitting 320 to bring in Jarren Duran. You're getting rid of a guy or benching a guy who's hitting 200. This is not even anti-Jackie Bradley Jr. I am just pro-Jarren Duran getting a chance. And Bradley, look, if he's on a hot streak, right? 210. I think Jarren Duran could hit 210 with regular playing time. I'd rather see him hit 210 than see Jackie Bradley. Number two, on a little Tell the Truth Red Sox Monday, I am shocked, actually shocked at the lack of growth from Bobby Dahlbeck. And I am sad for him as a human. Watching him struggle, that is hard to do. As just a person, and as a person who played, and as a person who really struggled mentally playing, and as a person who never had to struggle on the big stage like Dahlbeck is, I just feel bad for him. But from a radio host standpoint, I am shocked. I thought that Bobby Dahlbeck was going to take a massive jump forward this year. I'm listening to Will Fleming on the pregame show yesterday say the same thing. I thought this was going to be a big year for him. He's got power. He's got versatility. He's in shape. He's got it all physically. He just hasn't put it together yet. Listen to some of these numbers. And I'm not somebody who likes to inundate you with statistics, but these two stand out. Bobby Dahlbeck has put 52 balls in play this year. 52 balls have been put in play by Bobby Dahlbeck. That is 166th out of 172 qualified hitters. Only 5 hitters have put less balls in play that qualify for the stat than Dahlbeck. and his whiff rate, which basically means when you swing, how often do you miss? Bobby Dahlbeck has swung and missed at more than 38% of the pitches that he has swung at. Of the pitches that he chooses to swing at, he has missed 38.4% of them. That is 170th out of 172 qualified hitters. Almost nobody is putting the ball in play as infrequently as Bobby Dahlbeck, and almost nobody is swinging and missing more than Bobby Dahlbeck. It is one thing to have a guy that is strikeout prone. In today's baseball, you're going to have that. But to swing and miss at 38% of the pitches, that you've swung at, that's hard to do. Like, you have to be able to put the ball in play with some kind of regularity. On Saturday, 9th inning, was it second and third? Dahlbeck's up. If he just puts the ball in play, you probably win that game in the 9th, and we don't go to extras. And unfortunately, you don't really have a good option with Bobby Dahlbeck. You don't. Him being platooned with Franchi Cordero, that's not good for Bobby Dahlbeck's development. Being half a player is not good for his growth. I mean, so what? You want to send him to AAA? Well, you can't do that because you're going to block Tristan Casas, and that's a guy who needs to play every day. Dahlbeck's not getting any better by playing every day. He's getting worse. He can't go to AAA because you'll get a block Casas. He can't go to AA because he's too good for that, and that would do him no good. And platooning him does him no good because you're making him half a player, and you're not getting a chance nightly to see if he can make adjustments. So there's really no good answer right now for Bobby Dahlbeck. AAA's out, AA's out, playing every day is out, and platooning him doesn't do a whole lot of good for him either. So there's no good answers right here for Dahlbeck. 802-585-3026. Travis says, might as well play Duran. At this point, he's better than JBJ. Also a text, why not call up Tristan Casas? We're going to do a little bit of this tomorrow, I think, on the show, but a couple of reasons. There's never been a bigger gap between AAA and the majors. So these top prospects that come up, remember, these guys a lot of them missed a full season in 2020 because of COVID, right? There was no minor league baseball. Some guys got to hang around at the alternate site and play, but a lot of guys missed the entirety of their season. Look at these young prospects. Spencer Torkelson, Bobby Witt Jr., Julio Rodriguez. A lot of them are struggling. Jared Kelnick hitting 150. These guys are heralded prospects, and you miss a year of development, and the gap between AAA and the majors has never been bigger. Do you want to bring up Tristan Casas and set him up to fail like those guys have been failing to this point? I don't. He's also hitting 257 at AAA. It's not like he's hitting 557. He's hitting 150, I believe, against left-handed pitching. Don't you want him to come up and be ready to contribute at the major league level and not be a liability? That's not good for the team, and it's not good for him mentally. Peter says, if I'm the Red Sox, I'd take Duran over JBJ. Ha, ha, ha. And another question, other than Whitlock, who do you trust in that bullpen? I don't trust Whitlock in the bullpen. Whitlock's the starter now, so I trust him. I trust Houck in the midsection of a game, innings 4 and 5. Strom's been pretty good. And I like Robles. I'm willing to give Robles more of a runway than a lot of you are. He has not been good his last 5 outings or so. I understand he's walking more guys than he did in his first 5 or 6 outings. But I like Robles. So Strom, Houck early, Robles, those are the guys I think I trust. Danish and Schreiber, they're not worth talking about right now. Austin Davis, I guess I'd say I trust him in the right situation early in a game. Diekman, very iffy. Barnes, I have no faith in. So, look, that's another blown game on Saturday. You should have won that game. Nick Pivetta deserved to win. But your bullpen continues to not be great or continues to be bad at inopportune times. Now you're out Waka on the in the rotation. He's on the injured list. So, times are not good. That's how you get to 10-19. 10-19 in last place and 2 games out of 4th place, or 2 games behind the Orioles right now. I think we're going to do some of the Cassis stuff, some of the Trevor Story stuff. We're going to do that tomorrow. We got time to wade into those waters tomorrow. But I will give you a slimmer of hope in the 6 o'clock hour. About 45 minutes from now, I will give you a small, fleeting image of hope for the Boston Red Sox. It is the Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. All right, Celtics, they lose a tough one to the Milwaukee Bucks on Saturday, 103-101. It was not without controversy. Game 4 is tonight in Milwaukee. What can we expect? Adam Kaufman, WBZ News Radio in Boston, and the Celtics Beat podcast. He tells us next right here on WDEV, AM and FM.
Hi, this is Sandy Roos, President and CEO of Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice. It's Nurses Week. I want to recognize our nursing staff and the commitment they make to their patients and community. Nurses at Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice are compassionate, creative, and solutions-oriented. And I want to recognize what they do every day to bring this dedication to their patients. It's that simple. Our nurses are called to this work because they want to help others. They are unafraid to roll up their sleeves and tackle challenges, especially when a person's health and well-being are on the line. This did not change during the pandemic, and I'd say perhaps that their instincts kicked in even more fiercely in this time. Many of our nurses live in this community, and when you take care of your neighbors, you don't sleep unless you know they are well and safe. Please join me in thanking the nurses in your life, and Happy Nurses Week.
WDEV at 90 is brought to you in part by New England Municipal Resource Center, NEMRIC, with a belief that local businesses like WDEV build strong communities. WDEV also serves the Northeast Kingdom at 101.9 W270BR Island Pond.
Hey, country music fans, Lee Bryce here, inviting you to go on tour with me and my band. Play the Vermont Lottery's $5 Big Country Cash instant ticket, and you could win up to $20,000. And there's a second chance drawing to join me on the road. And we're talking concerts, backstage passes, and more. Basically, where I go, you go, all in the comfort of a luxury tour bus. For your chance to say, hey, I'm with the band, try the Big Country Cash instant ticket.
I like your soul. Visit a Vermont Lottery retailer today. Please play responsibly.
Congratulations to Will Sipsey of Lincoln, our latest winner from the WDEV Fairness to Fans machine.
Excellent. This is Will Sipsey from Lincoln, Vermont. I just want to say that I have a rebuilt LaRue Brothers transmission in my 1999 Dodge 250 Ram. It is a great transmission.
No purchase is necessary. The next drawing is Thursday, May 19th. Fill out an entry form at WDEVradio.com. The Fairness to Fans machine, maintained by LaRue Brothers Transmissions of Barton, only on WDEV. The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show here on this Monday on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. I vented enough about the Red Sox right now, and let's move on from them, and let's get to the Celtics and the Bruins. Caesar headed on Game 4 tonight against the Milwaukee Bucks in Milwaukee, trailing 2-1. Joining us now is our friend Adam Kaufman from the Celtics Beat podcast and WBZ News Radio in Boston. Adam, how are you?
I truly didn't know there was a way to vent enough about the Red Sox. So good for you. You've done the impossible.
I'm going to give one little sliver of optimism before the show ends, but the first 15 minutes was spent feeling exactly how you feel, I'm sure. Let's get to the Celtics. Marcus Smart, shooting foul or pre-shot movement?
Well, look, we know how it was called on the floor, which was pre-shot movement. We know what the NBA last 2-minute report said, which was it was not a shooting foul. The last 2-minute report was a mess. Said there were about 5 other things that should have gone the other way that didn't, but stood by that call. Look, to me, it was a shooting foul, and I think it's really as simple as, how often do you watch Marcus Smart play? If you've watched the majority of Marcus Smart's games throughout his, whatever it is, 8-year professional career at this point, you know that when he's doing that, he's about to take the shot. He was working his way into a shooting motion. He didn't have much time for anything else. I mean, I get the sort of fine line or nature of it and the room for discrepancy, but I just, if you look at, and I've tweeted it and 1,000 other people have tweeted it, if you look at the slow motion replay of it, or slow motion real time of it, or however you want to phrase it, to me it's pretty apparent that he is going up into that shooting motion. I get that there was contact just prior to that, but he was still, the arms, for anyone that can see me, his arms are still working their way up. And so to me, it was a pretty clear shooting foul. But, I'm hard pressed, and this is this bigger picture stuff. I'm hard pressed to really ever look at a game and say it came down to this one play. You don't know that Marcus Smart, even if it was called a shooting foul, would have made all 3 free throws and, this, that, whatever. Like the fact of the matter is, and I said this, I'm sure you've said this and others, if Jason Tatum, who I expect to be much better in game 4 tonight, if Jason Tatum is even decent, never mind good or very good or great, if he is even decent, like slightly below average as opposed to abysmal, the Celtics win that game going away. So I'm not going to get too worked up over a non-call or a bad call at the end of a game.
What do you make of Ime Udoka complaining about the officials or saying that his team needs to flop more? He's played this pretty tough guy attitude all the way through. We're not a track team. We're not running from Brooklyn. Yeah. And today he kind of goes the whiny direction. Is that just gamesmanship, putting the officials on notice, or is he, crying a little bit too much?
See, I didn't take it that way. I didn't take it as Ime Udoka whining. I sort of, to me, it sounded, and it's hard to tell with him because he's so matter of fact no matter what he says. I took it as a little bit of sarcasm. He really, obviously, he came out pretty strong post game, not against the officials, but against his own team. He said, we need, in order for us to be better, we need to stop bitching. We need to get back in transition. 2 easy 3-pointers that were made, I think, by Connaughton and Portis, if I remember right. Easy 3-pointers that went the other way. That happened at a point where Grant Williams and Tatum, maybe guys were just, jawing at the officials. If they get back defensively, those threes, maybe they still happen, but they certainly aren't wide open looks. So what his comment was after the game was, we need to stop, and he said it multiple times, we need to stop bitching. We need to stop crying. If you want to take this into your own hands a little bit, let me be the one who bitches at the officials, or let me be the one who cries at the officials on your behalf. Let the other team, let the Bucks be the one that bitches. You got to stay in your own head and focus and don't get distracted by that stuff, which more often than not, as he said, hey, we do a pretty good job of doing. But, this one kind of got away from us a little bit. So I didn't, I know he made the comment like we should be out there flopping more or whatever, but I honestly, I kind of took that sarcastically. I didn't take that as Ime, going after the officials as much as going after his own team for going after the officials.
Adam Kaufman, WBZ News Radio in Boston, Celtics Beat podcast as well. Maybe these two things are related. Maybe they're not at all. How worried are you about Tatum's wrist?
I'm not. I'm really not. He said it's been bugging him for a couple of months. And after this last game, it's the first time that we even heard about it. We've heard about, Smart and the bruise and, the quad bruise and obviously the shoulder stinger, which really doesn't seem to be affecting him. And Jalen and the hamstring and Rob Williams and the knee, the meniscus and all that. We haven't heard anything about Jason Tatum's wrist. And he's had some really good games the last couple of months. So I'm not alarmed by it. He doesn't seem, at least publicly, alarmed by it, so I wouldn't worry about it. And I did look up, just because I was curious, the last 3 postseasons, that being this year, because obviously we're already underway, in the last 2 prior to this year, any time that he has been held below 20 points in a playoff game, and as we know, he had 10 this last game against in game 3, and went, I think he missed 15 of 19 shots. He was terrible. Anytime he has been held below 20 points in a playoff game, he has bounced back with at least 24 and sometimes upwards of 40 or 50. So, these are not like, he doesn't fall into these prolonged stretches or slumps or whatever. I know earlier this season we saw moments of that, but at least in his playoff career over the last few years, when he's sort of ascended to the level that he is at, he doesn't put back-to-back duds together. So I feel very strongly that he's going to have a very good game tonight.
Interesting column this morning on WEEI.com by Andy Hart, who said he does not like watching Giannis play. Nothing about Giannis, the person. He does not like watching Giannis play and does not like what the officials let him do. Basically, he initiates all the contact with a full head of steam and then gets the benefit of the call. Are you buying that, or does that sound like a bitter fan who's now down 2-1?
Well, I guess I would ask you, is that Giannis's fault or the official's fault? Because if he sees something within his game that's going to work, which is, turn into a bull in the china shop, and, if I know, if I'm him, if I'm any player, if I'm Jason Tatum, name it, if I know that every time I drive to the hoop and initiate contact, arguably at points could be an offensive foul or a non-call, but if I know if I'm going to officiate or initiate contact, and I'm going to get the call, I'm going to get to the free throw line, do it. You should do it. I don't think the problem is with Giannis there. I think the problem is with the officials. He's getting a lot of calls. This goes beyond getting superstar treatment. He's getting calls that like Shaq didn't get. When he would try and throw his body around on the inside and just, use his size for the purposes of it being an advantage just to get a call. Shaq wasn't getting calls the way Giannis gets calls. I don't think that's an anti-Giannis thing. I think that is an issue with the officiating and the way they are calling, much of this series so far, specifically about him. Again, I'm not sitting here saying this is why the Celtics are down 2-1 or anything like that. I think the Celtics, while they've obviously not shut down Giannis, and you can't, like no team can shut down Giannis, I think they've done a very good job defending him and limiting him or containing him to a certain degree. I mean, look at his shooting percentages. He has not played, his best, which honestly, and I don't know if you're transitioning here or not, but I'll just throw it out. Like, that's one of the things that scares me about this series. We haven't seen a great Giannis game yet, and they have already won 2 games. Much the same as we haven't seen a great Jason Tatum game yet, in this series. I think we've probably seen our great Jaylen Brown game. Doesn't mean it won't happen again, but that 25-point first half, that's in all likelihood not going to be replicated. But the fact that we have not seen Giannis truly go off, like just be this invincible force in this series, like that does worry me a little bit.
Bruins were getting manhandled to the first 2 games of their series with Carolina. They've won the last 2. We go back to Raleigh for Game 5. What's your confidence level on the Bees?
Well, I think you have to be confident, right? The way that they're playing, which if you had asked me before the weekend would have sounded like an insane statement to make when they were, hadn't led the Hurricanes for a second in 5 meetings with them going back to the regular season, had been outscored 26-4 or something like that. But over these last couple of games, they've still fallen into the traps of early deficits. They've fallen behind 1-0 in 4 straight games, I think it is. But they, now are battling back. They're showing more desperation. I think it's a confluence of things. Like, obviously the goalie changed. Jeremy Swayman has been better than Linus Ullmark. I really don't think Linus Ullmark is specifically the reason they lost those first 2 games. The offense was non-existent. I mean, he got no help whatsoever. But Swayman has been better, is getting help. The perfection line, Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak have been incredible over the last 2 games. Most recently, obviously, the explosion in Game 4 yesterday. I think if there's any reason to worry a bit, and it's fair, the situation involving the defense. The offense, as the defense was good yesterday. Don't get me wrong. It was good, absolutely. But there's only so long you feel like you can survive without your top 2 defensemen. They don't have Hampus Lindholm with the injury. Charlie McAvoy now is in COVID protocols, I believe, for at least 5 days. So he's not going to be available for this next game. They're playing every other day. I'm relieved that it is a best of three. You know, you don't need to, like, you're down 3-1. You need to win 3 in a row. You don't need to deal with any of that, so that it takes some of the pressure off. Like, you know, you're coming back home even if you do lose Game 5 in Carolina. But I think there's a certain confidence and swagger that they are playing with right now, and certainly a desperation level that everybody talked about after that game yesterday. And so I think you should feel good about them at the moment.
Adam Kaufman, WBZ News Radio in Boston, Celtics Beat podcast. I'm sure he'll be reacting ASAP this week to what we see tonight in Game 4. Seas look to even up the series. Adam, appreciate it as always.
All right, one last message. Shave Alex Cora. Take off the beard. It'll all turn around.
His wife likes it, though.
Doesn't matter now. Baseball's first.
Adam Kaufman, WBZ News Radio in Boston and Celtics Beat. Love having him on. Tonight, Game 4, 7:30. Looking forward to it. It was Marcus Smart was shooting at the end of that game. To Adam's point, that's not the reason they lost. I also do not ever put a game on one call. You know this about me by now. But yes, Marcus Smart was in his shooting motion. We'll get into more of that in the 6 o'clock hour. It really, I think what tonight comes down to is, can the Celtics figure out a way once again to limit the role players on the Bucks? You look at that game, and Connaughton was, hitting threes, and Portis is hitting threes, and Matthews is out there shooting threes. Brook Lopez had some nifty footwork down below. Can you limit the other guys? Now in Game 2, they seem content to just let Giannis do his thing and then, not help. We'll see what they do today. It's a game of adjustments and readjustments. The Andy Hart thing is interesting, not liking the way Giannis plays. I got some thoughts on that as well in the 6 o'clock hour. What we will do is we will step aside. We'll get a national news update from CBS News. We'll come back, and we'll get back into the show. Neil Anderson of Norwich University men's lacrosse is going to stop by briefly in the 6 o'clock hour, I think about 6:45. And I will tell you about my very interesting men's league baseball experience yesterday. Was I close to getting ejected? I'll tell you exactly what went down between me and the home plate umpire. That's coming up next in the Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush, 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield, 96.5 W243 Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury Montpelier, streaming at WDEVradio.com. 90 years of serving Vermont, the friendly pioneer, WDEV.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Monica Ricks in New York. Both Russia and Ukraine celebrated the end of World War II today while addressing their own war. CBS's Natalie Brand is at the White House.
President Vladimir Putin used the celebrations to blame NATO and the West for his war in Ukraine and continued to spread the lie that the war is aimed at denazifying Ukraine.
The danger was growing every day, and Russia gave a preemptive rebuff.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, in his own speech, says Russia's Victory Day will someday become Ukraine's Victory Day.
Pentagon spokesman John Kirby also revealed Ukrainians are getting deported to Russia.
We do have indications that Ukrainians are being taken against their will into Russia. Again, unconscionable, not the behavior of responsible power. Certainly another indication that he simply won't accept and respect Ukrainian sovereignty and that they are citizens of another nation.
CBS's Steve Dorsey says senators will vote to codify Roe v. Wade later this week.
Democratic leader Chuck Schumer told the chamber,
"The vote will shine light on every single one of us. It'll be like a floodlight."
But the bill isn't expected to pass. Republican leader Mitch McConnell calls it extreme.
Notwithstanding inflation, energy insecurity, open borders, a violent crime wave, and a war in Europe, Democrats want to spend this week explaining their extremism.
Millions of low-income Americans will have access to high-speed internet soon. President Biden praised that progress.
Not only is it this great news for family budgets, it also means more jobs, more new small businesses, more connectivity. So many people in so many communities that have been left behind.
Baby formula shortages, mostly due to recalls, have parents scrambling across the country now. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the FDA is working to cut some red tape.
Working with major infant formula manufacturers to ensure they're increasing production, because part of this issue is, of course, making sure there's stock on the shelves.
Health issues are forcing Queen Elizabeth to miss her speech at Parliament tomorrow. Here's CBS's Imtiaz Tayeb.
Buckingham Palace said in a statement that the decision was made in consultation with her doctors and that the 96-year-old had, quote, reluctantly decided not to attend. Now, her son, Prince Charles, is going to read the speech for her, and it'll be the first time that her grandson, Prince William, the Duke of Cambridge, will have an official role at the event.
In her 70 years on the throne, she's only missed this twice. Supporters of Ferdinand Marcos Jr. hit the streets in the Philippines to celebrate his unofficial presidential election win. Marcos's late father was ousted for corruption. This is CBS News.
There's always something new under the sun. CBS Mornings, weekdays on CBS.
Hi, folks. Dan and Pat Keene here, owners of Lamoille Valley Chevy, with exciting news. The pre-owned super sale is now on at Lamoille Valley Chevy. Tell them, Pat. First, I want you to know that we are coming off the best start to a year in the history of Lamoille Valley Chevy. And due to this, our lot is now loaded with pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs, and we've got to sell them down. Right now at Lamoille Valley Chevy, we have several pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs, including many Toyotas, Hondas, Jeeps, and Subarus that have been through our shop and are ready for immediate delivery. And at Lamoille Valley Chevy, we also have a great selection of Chevy certified pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs in stock that come with a better than new 100,000-mile warranty. Plus, listen to this offer for you. During May at Lamoille Valley Chevy, everyone who purchases any pre-owned vehicle in stock will get a $500 gas card on up. That's a great deal. So come get yourself a great deal and a $500 gas card during the pre-owned super sale happening now at Lamoille Valley Chevy, just past Stowe and Morrisville in the beautiful town of Hyde Park, and spread the word. At Lamoille Valley Chevy, we know price matters.
Most families in the central Vermont area are needed to house the players of your Vermont Mountaineers. If you have space in your home, please consider becoming a host. All players are fully vaccinated and boosted. Players will have their own transportation, and dinner is provided on game nights. What's in it for you? How about free season tickets and free baseball camps for kids or grandkids? If interested, email host families at thevermontmountaineers.com.
Go, 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 Mountaineers. Go!
Do you want to learn more about the free market perspective on important public policy issues affecting you, your work, and your community? I'm Bill Sayre, and I hope you'll do so by joining me in conversation with Vermont opinion leaders as we discuss how best to make Vermont an ever better and more affordable place to live and work. Common Sense Radio with Bill Sayre, weekdays 11 till noon.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. I want to thank Adam Kaufman for stopping by. We'll get back into some of what Adam had to talk about in about 15 minutes, maybe 10 as part of who's saying what. But I do want to tell you two things. One, make sure you download the full show podcast, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can also check it out at WDEVradio.com. It's free. We appreciate your support. Our numbers on the podcast are way bigger than anything I ever would have imagined, so appreciate anybody who supports us there. But I got to tell you a little bit about my men's league baseball game yesterday. Like, I got into it with the umpire yesterday, and I never get into it with umpires. Like, I get it, okay? It's men's league on Sunday afternoon in Vermont. It's not the majors. I don't make a habit of bitching at the umpires, but I had to do it yesterday. I had to. And you know what? Sometimes you do these things and you go, well, I'm not proud of it. You know what? I don't care. Today, I walked into work and I told the story to both Corum and Lee, and I thought maybe I'd look different. Like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. No, I do not care. I walked out of there yesterday not thinking I did anything wrong. So let me give a little bit of context. Again, I won't bore you with all the specifics of Sunday Men's League Baseball, but I got to tell this. So my team is the South Burlington Expos. We play out at Dorset Street Park in South Burlington, right? We played against the Champlain Mariners. And the Champlain Mariners are very, very good. Like, not just good for men's league, not just good for Sunday afternoon. It's not beer league baseball. It's legitimate hardball. And the Champlain Mariners are a very good team. The head coach at NVU Linden plays on this team. He's a good player. The best hitter at NVU Linden is on this team. He's an excellent player. Davis Michael, the old CVU player who's an All-American at Castleton a couple of years ago, he's on this team. So this team is definitely not just weekend warriors. They are real, young, athletic ball players. So I pitched yesterday, and I pitched what I thought was pretty good. Now, I did have a few uncharacteristic walks early. We kicked the ball around a little bit, a bounce here or there. So whatever. So we were losing in like the third inning, maybe the fourth, but the third or fourth inning. And at this point, by the third or fourth inning, I'm pretty frustrated, right? We've kicked the ball around a bit. I've walked a couple of guys. They've hit a couple of balls well just because they're good. So I'm still pitching well, and the score is close. But we're losing, and I'm a little upset at how things are going. So one of these really good hitters is at the plate for the Champlain Mariners, and I get him 0-2. I throw him a curveball right down the middle. Right down the middle of the plate. And, like, this wasn't like, you could say, he crossed high and the catcher caught it in the strike zone. No. This ball was right down the middle. It was the best curveball I threw all day. It was a strike 10 times out of 10. Guy calls it a ball. So I didn't say anything, right? Didn't say a word. Got the ball back from the catcher, walked around the back of the mound, took my time, let the guy know clearly that I thought it was a strike and that I wanted it. But I didn't say anything. I get back on the mound. Next pitch. 1-2 count. Dotted fastball. Outside corner. Not a ball off the outside corner. Not the catcher's got to frame it and bring it back. No. Dotted. Spotted. Right on the black. Picasso himself couldn't have painted the corner like I did. Guy calls it a ball again. And I know he knew it was a strike. And he only called it a ball because he was PO'd at me because I had just walked around the mound on the last pitch. That is why he called it a ball. I believe in my heart of souls that he was not that bad on that call. He just did it to screw me. And that is where I didn't lose it. Like, I'm not like Lou Piniella. But I got the ball back from the catcher. He throws it to me at the mound. I took 2 steps up towards the umpire, and I just looked at him. There's probably, hey, there's the guys on the field. It was Mother's Day, so there were some moms there. There's always some wives or girlfriends there, some friends, some brothers. There's probably, 50 people in the whole thing, right? Between the 2 teams and all that, there's probably 50 people there. So I didn't scream at the guy, but I got the ball back, and I looked at him, and I go, look, I know you're mad at me because of what I just did. But both of those pitches were strikes. You missed both of them. Stop trying to prove a point and just get the call right. And the guy didn't say anything back to me. Did not say anything. And you know when umpires don't say anything back to you? When they know they're wrong. He had to have known he was wrong. I thought I'd wake up this morning thinking, hey, I shouldn't have shown the guy up. The game doesn't ultimately mean that much. I called him out in front of everybody. I don't feel bad. I haven't mouthed off to an umpire in like 4 years. That guy yesterday deserved it. When we're playing a really good team, they don't need any help from you. Those guys needed no help. They got college All-Americans on their team. They didn't need your help. 0-2 curveball down the middle, ball. 1-2 fastball in the corner, ball. No, I was not okay with that. I'm like, look, buddy, I'm 32 years old going on 33. My arm, it takes everything I have to play in these Sunday games. To pick up the ball once a week, it takes everything that I have. If I am going to be out here and I gave up my Sunday just like you did. I gave up my Sunday. My arm is going to throb for a week. If I'm going to strike a guy out looking, I need it to be called. Don't try to prove a point to me like, oh, don't walk around the mound. Don't show me up, buddy, which is what he basically was saying and calling the ball. I'm like, no, come on. My arm's going to fall off today. My forearm is throbbing. The back of my shoulder hurts, and my back is sore. Well worth it. However, call the damn thing a strike when it's a strike. Like, I need strikes to be called strikes, especially against this lineup. I'm like, what are we doing here? So I don't feel bad. Like, I threw 140 pitches yesterday. No joke. I kid you not. We have an electronic score sheet. I thought by the end of the game I was going to be like 110. So I even asked them, like, hey, how many pitches did I throw? Like 110? And even that would have been a lot. They're like, no, dude, it was like 140. I'm like, whoa. If I'm going to throw 140 pitches in 6 innings, I need strikes to be called strikes. So then it ends up being 3-2. I throw the kid a slider, outside corner. It was a ball. Guy punches him out. And I'm like, look, I don't know if you punched him out because I complained, or I don't know if you punched him out because you were bad and you actually thought it was a strike. But thank you very much. I won that battle of me against the umpire. It was not even close. So, Mark in South Hero says, go ahead and get the umpire. That makes me smile. Yeah, look, I wasn't going to take it. If I'm going to give up my Sunday, throw 140 pitches, to the point where my arm is killing me today, I need every break that I can get. And these weren't even breaks. These were pitches right down the middle. They've got to be called strikes. So, look, I know that nobody cares about how my men's league game went, or what my stats are and all that. And that's fine. But me getting at the umpire, I had to tell that story because I haven't gotten on an umpire in a long time. Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury. Text line, Steve in Fairfax. Have you ever been ejected from a game? Yes, one time. Never as a player. Once as a coach. Do I want to tell this story too? The guys, yes? All right. Quickly, I'll tell the story. So I was never ejected as a player. I was ejected once as a coach. I was coaching high-level travel baseball in the summer a few years back in New York. I coached really good travel ball for like 2 years. I coached for like 4 or 5, but like really good teams and a really good league for 2. So I was coaching in the league that I grew up in, right? The league I grew up playing in. And I grew up in a very big community. So like our community was enough to have 2 teams in it. We had an A team, which was predominantly 16-year-olds, and we had a B team that was predominantly 15-year-olds. So I had the A team, and there was a B team also. So you all know how this goes, right? The B team wants nothing more than to beat the A team. The parents of the B team kids want nothing more than to beat the A team. So it's always like a weird game from the start. Like if your JV team played your varsity team, you know there'd be an interesting dynamic there. It would be a bit uncomfortable. So like, I know in my mind, I cannot lose to the B team. That would be bad for everybody. So I'm kind of on edge from the start. Those guys are on edge from the start. Everybody's a little bit on edge. The parents are on edge. So we had like 4 games in 4 days. So I started like my 3rd or 4th best pitcher in this game against the B team. I actually had a kid, no joke. I don't know if he's still playing, but I had a kid who got as high as AA with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Like he was on my team this particular year. He's played AA ball in Tulsa last year. Not sure if he's playing this year or not. I got to check. But I did not want to use him up against the B team. So the umpire in this game is just atrocious. And again, it's 15, 16-year-old baseball. It's generally par for the course that the umpires are going to be atrocious. Like, I get this. So, like, I don't make a habit of berating umpires at youth league games because generally I know they're going to be awful. And to this guy's credit, it was like 95 degrees out. This was his third game of the day. So by 6:30 at night when we throw the first pitch, he's on day 3. He's on game 3. He's moody. He's already bad. He's sweating bullets. So he's irritable. We're all on edge. He's irritable. So it's a perfect powder keg from the start. So game goes on. This guy's horrible, and I'm just kind of chirping. I'm yelling at my catcher as a way to kind of get the umpire's attention. If you want to yell at an umpire without yelling at an umpire, that's the pro tip. You yell at your catcher because that puts the umpire on notice. Like my catcher's name was G. Hey, G, you got to frame that. That's a strike. We got to have it. Come on, G. You got to receive that better. You got to show him that that's a strike because that's a strike. That's how you yell at an umpire without actually doing it. So I'm doing that all game long too, right? So I'm chirping at the ump. I'm talking to my catcher to get the ump's attention. Umpire's horrible. We're down like 3-0 in like the third or fourth inning. Again, not a good situation if your B team is beating your A team. So we're down. So I go to the kid who ended up playing for the Dodgers, and the game game stays close and all that. Guy's still awful. He comes to me maybe in like the third inning or so. The umpire says, hey, look, I'm tired of hearing from you. If you say one more thing, I'm throwing you out of the game. Okay, fine. So the game's going along. It's close. We're down maybe like, it might be like we're down 4-2 or 5-3 or something. It's the 6th. I got a different pitcher in. 0-2 count. He throws one fastball, top of the zone, ball. One fastball, inside part of the zone, ball. One fastball, outside part of the zone, ball 3. I calmly walk out of the dugout, and I just looked at the guy. And I held up my fingers. I held up 3 fingers. So I said, sir, you have missed 3 consecutive pitches. 3 consecutive pitches. And the guy threw me out. I didn't yell at him, but he told me not to say anything else, or he was going to toss me. I sat silent for 2.5 innings. I walked out. You've missed 3 straight pitches. He threw me out. And that was that. And then I got banished to the parking lot for a game. Or I got banished from the parking lot for the rest of that game. And I got suspended for the next game and got a talking to from the league, etc. And then 2 days later, I find out that I'm pitching in the men's league I was playing at the time. And that guy who threw me out was the home plate umpire when I was pitching. And you know what? He was awful when I was pitching too. Horrible. Didn't matter if it was 16-year-olds, 30-year-olds. He was downright bad. So, yes, that's the story of the one time I got ejected. And yesterday how I didn't get ejected, but I did, called the umpire out. Get a text on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line says, that's a frustrating yet heroic story of you calling out the umpire. Well, thank you very much. I don't know that I felt like a hero, but I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel bad about it. Again, these guys are giving up their Sunday. They're doing it for the love of the game. They're part of the reason we can play. I understand all that. They're not in the majors just like I'm not in the majors. I don't make a habit of calling out the umpire, but yesterday I'm like, my God, we've just got to get the call right. We've just got to. All right. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. I'm going to change up here a little bit. Who's saying what is what we usually do now. I'm going to do that after the commercial break because I want to get to this. I promised you I would give you one sliver of Red Sox good news. Okay? Phil in Middlesex says, great story, Brady. Thank you. I don't know if you're referring to me yesterday, mounted at the ump, or me getting tossed, but I think both of them are fairly good, to be honest with you. When I got tossed and I was suspended for the game, I had to sit out in the basically like beyond the fence. I couldn't talk to anybody. My players were on Twitter and they came up with the hashtag Free Farkas because they knew I shouldn't have been tossed because they knew the guy stunk. Now, I don't want to encourage bad sportsmanship, but yeah, they had the hashtag Free Farkas thing going on Twitter as I was banished out in the right field corner, not allowed to talk to anybody. But the guy who tossed me, the guy, this is maybe the best part of the whole thing. The guy who tossed me from that game, I found out he had a propensity to toss people because he was obviously so bad that everybody always got on him. I heard a story, and I can't confirm this. I heard a story that he tossed out an 8-year-old from the crowd of a game. And what had happened was, allegedly, the score, you got these all-star games or all-star tournaments, and there's the scoreboard in left field. It's like PepsiCo. There's this little home away ball strike out part of the scoreboard. Very, very small, very nothing scoreboard, but it's electronic. And for these tournaments, they actually use them. So some 8-year-old kid, someone's little brother, is putting in the strikes, balls, and outs. So the kid puts it in wrong, right? So the kid screws up because he's 8 years old. And the umpire was kept looking at the board. So the umpire says, the count is 3-2 when it really should be 3-1, right? The kid's got it wrong on the board, but the umpire's looking at the board. So he punches a guy out on what should be 3-1, and now everybody goes all to hell. And instead of taking accountability or keeping the correct count himself, he threw the 8-year-old kid out because he was making him look bad. That's the guy who ran me from the game. He was awful. He was not a nice guy. I actually got exonerated by the league. Even though I had to serve my suspension, they told me I was okay because that guy was a train wreck as an umpire. Or the Umpires Association, gave me a kind of an exoneration out of the whole thing. So, yeah, my going at the umpire career is not that great. I don't go at him often, but yesterday and 7 years ago when I got tossed in the game and everybody had free Farkas going. Okay, now I can get back to the Red Sox real quick. It's ugly, right? 10-19, last place. 2 games behind the Baltimore Orioles right now. It's ugly. I'm not going to tell you anything differently. I will, however, give you one ray of hope. And it's hard to see it, but it's there. Think of an NFL schedule. NFL schedule has 17 games, but let's just say it's 16 because for a long time it was 16, and it works better for this analogy. A baseball season basically has 160 games. So there are 16 10-game pockets, right? We can divide the baseball season into 16ths in the same way we could have a football season divided into 16ths. So 30 games is essentially 30 baseball games is essentially 3/16 of your baseball season in the same way that 3 football games is 3/16 of your football season. How many times do we see a football team look really bad through 3 games? They're 1-2 and they're getting outscored by everybody, and then they go on a run and they're good. We see that all the time where you start out 1-2, your season's not over. That's where the Red Sox are at now. They have played 3/16 of their season. If the Patriots were 1-2, the season would not be over. The Red Sox at 10-19, essentially through almost 30 games, the season is not over just yet. So I would not give up on the Red Sox at this point. It's ugly. I don't know when exactly. Look, you could turn it around and it could be too late. It may be eventually too late for them to catch anybody in the standings. I don't deny that. I've said that for a while. If you dig a hole too big, you can't come out of it. But if your NFL team was 1-2, you wouldn't give up on them. Your baseball team is in that equivalent right now. Basically 1-2. I hope that made sense to everybody. I got a phone call in there. I'm putting a guy on hold, so I'm trying to talk as I do this. Hopefully it made sense. But you can divide your baseball season into 16ths in the same way you can divide your football season. We're 3 games into an NFL season at this point, 30 games into a baseball season. You can come back from a 1-2 football start. I don't know if the Red Sox will come back from this, but it is still early enough to come back from it. Who's saying what? Celtics talk as the C's get ready for the Bucks tonight. How worried are we about Jason Tatum's wrist? And somebody called me. Hopefully it wasn't the umpire that I went after yesterday. We'll talk about it next on DEV.
Do you know what people see when they Google you? Search engines don't always get it right. And when they're wrong, it's your reputation on the line. So what do you do when you don't agree with your search results? Call Reputation Defender at 800-401-6681. Reputation Defender is one of the most trusted names in online reputation repair. We have over a decade of experience in fixing people's search results, and we can help you too. Using cutting-edge approaches, Reputation Defender pushes unflattering information down to lower pages of your search results, where few people ever look. We also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, letting you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. You owe it to yourself to take control with Reputation Defender. Visit www.reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 for free advice on your situation. That's 800-401-6681.
Do you want to work for one of the fastest growing life insurance companies in the United States? Do you want to join the team that has a great culture? Are you interested in competitive benefits, including tuition reimbursement, paid volunteer work, adoption assistance, and pet insurance? Do you want to do good, be good, and make good? Then look no further than National Life Group. As one of Vermont's largest employers, they're adding to their team, and they'd like to hear from you. National Life currently has dozens of open positions in all departments, including finance, operations, IT, marketing, and even for an innkeeper for their guest house. Listen to what one employee has to say about working at National Life.
Often in IT, it's easy to work in a silo, but here I've been encouraged not only to work with and get to know my IT colleagues, but my business ones as well. Those connections help me achieve our company's goals more successfully. At National Life, there are plenty of opportunities to grow professionally.
That's just one example of a real-life experience at National Life. You could be next. Visit nationallife.com today to learn more. That's nationallife.com.
How well does your garden grow? Tune in Saturdays at 12:30 for In the Garden with Peter Burke. Peter and co-host Joel Nashman give you 1 full hour of the latest news, helpful tips, and your calls to talk about what's happening in your garden. It's brought to you in part by Clausen's Florist, Greenhouse, and Perennial Farm in Colchester. In the Garden with Peter Burke, live Saturdays at 12:30. Hear the podcast anytime at WDEVradio.com. Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Whoa. What did he say?
Mac Jones? Good Lord. Mel Kiper's got to slow down on this. Mac Jones ain't going to work, folks. It's not going to work. He's got to come to terms with it. It's not going to work.
They really said that?
Every damn thing is politics and race, and I'm losing my mind over it.
It's time for Who's Saying What on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in. Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Neil Anderson's going to stop by in about 15 minutes. Norwich University men's lacrosse coach. He'll be with us briefly. Very busy day for him. His team the other day punched its ticket to the NCAA tournament, but they'll have a home game on Wednesday, a play-in game in the first round of the tournament. So Neil's been on conference calls all day, so we get him for a couple of minutes here in about 15 minutes. The good news, the person on the phone line was not the umpire that I called out yesterday and told him he was blowing all the calls. So that's good to know. Just a concerned listener. So that's good to know. So I was a little worried. You know, you call a guy out. I don't know the guy's name, luckily. Usually that umpire, he likes me and is nice to me, I think. So I don't know what the deal is yesterday. Probably won't be nice to me the next time I have him. Breaking news, by the way, Celtics are taking on the Bucks tonight, 7:30, an hour from now. Robert Williams out for that game now. Left knee soreness. Remember, he had the meniscus issues, but left knee soreness for Robert Williams. He is out of this game. So Tice and Horford will have to, hold down the big man position. Grant Williams will be in there too. Probably more Peyton Pritchard, more Derek White, but no Robert Williams. Certainly bad news. In addition to Robert Williams' concerns now, there's also maybe mild concern at least about Jason Tatum's wrist. So Tatum, remember, he was fouled going up for a dunk the other day in the second quarter by Giannis, and then Tatum got up holding that wrist. I thought it was broken. I thought there was no way that he was going to play again in this series. Here's what Tatum said after the game, though.
I fell on it probably like 2 months ago, and some rest would have done it well. It's healed, but it's just kind of sensitive still because obviously we've been playing every other day. and, keeps getting hit and keep falling on it. But just wrap it up, put a pad on it, and, play.
Now, Adam Kaufman, Celtics insider, we asked him about Tatum's wrist 45 minutes ago. He said he's not worried about Tatum's wrist at all. Now, he is right to point out, hey, he says he fell on it a couple months ago. We didn't hear about it until this weekend. Like, it can't be that bad if he's been playing and dominating with the wrist, all along. So it can't be that worrisome. I beg to differ. Whenever a star player has discomfort, I'm going to worry. Doesn't mean that I think Tatum can't play effectively, but I worry that he won't as a result of this. He went 4 for 19 from the floor on Saturday. When you go 4 for 19, and I know now that your wrist is banged up, I'm worried that is not a coincidence. So, yeah, it's something that concerns me. It's something that concerns me. Again, he may score 50 tonight, and then I will cease to be concerned. But until I see him play well and shoot comfortably, yeah, it's been bothering him for 2 months. Fine. Well, what if Saturday was a new trigger and now it's worse? So, yeah, I think it's fair for me to be worried. I'm not trying to be pessimistic Peter about the whole thing, but, yeah, I would take note of it. Be something that I would absolutely worried about. If he starts the game 0 for 4, aren't you going to worry about it too? I mean, look, do we have what Adam said, guys? Oh, we do. Okay, good.
I'm really not. He said it's been bugging him for a couple of months, and after this last game is the first time that we even heard about it. We've heard about, Smart and the bruise and, the quad bruise and obviously the shoulder stinger, which really doesn't seem to be affecting him, and Jalen and the hamstring and Rob Williams and the knee, the meniscus and all that. Like, we haven't heard anything about Jason Tatum's wrist.
Yeah, and that's great. But now we know about it, and now we have a 4 for 19 shooting performance to go along with it. Those two things might be related. So, yes, I will worry about it. Tip-off less than an hour from now. No Robert Williams certainly is going to change how the Celtics do things. I want to react quickly to this article from Andy Hart. Andy Hart at WEEI.com. He said he does not enjoy the way that Giannis plays basketball. Does not enjoy watching Giannis. Says he doesn't like that Giannis gets to be a freight train and then he just gets to run into people and get a lot of calls. I asked Adam about that also. That's not the one. Do we have it, everybody? We did here. Okay.
Well, I guess I would ask you, is that Giannis's fault or the official's fault? Because if he sees something within his game that's going to work, which is, turn into a bull in the china shop. And, if I know, if I'm him, if I'm any player, if I'm Jason Tatum, name it. If I know that every time I drive to the hoop and initiate contact, arguably at points could be an offensive foul or a non-call. But if I know if I'm going to officiate or initiate contact and I'm going to get the call, I'm going to get to the free throw line, do it.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I did not like the column by Andy Hart. He didn't say anything negative about Giannis the person. It has nothing to do with that. He just said, I do not like his play style. Yeah, I agree with Adam. Like, I was always taught if you go to the basket and you go aggressively, then good things happen. And Giannis does that. He goes to the basket. He goes aggressively, and I think he earns a lot of what he gets. Like, he gets hit. Now, does sometimes, I'm sure, a call get made anticipating contact, or sometimes a call gets made based on that he's a superstar? Yes, but that he gets hit. And I was always taught when you initiate the contact, good things happen. We don't want the entire league to just be standstill jump shooters, do we? Do we want that? Because if you don't get rewarded for going in the lane, then that's what you will have created, a bunch of standstill jump shooters. So Giannis goes to the basket, seeks contact, gets contact, and then gets rewarded for that contact. I like that, because if you don't get rewarded for that contact, then we've created, my Monday night men's league. Because what happens when I played Monday night pickup? I used to play Wednesday night pickup, but there's no refs, right? You call your own fouls. So what in the world is the point of going into the lane? There's no official. There's no free throws. All I get is take the ball out up top. I'm not going in the lane. I am not driving in to get clobbered just so I can take the ball out up top. We got nothing but standstill jump shooters for that reason. Giannis at least goes to the bucket, gets the contact, and gets to the line. He has earned something from that. Yes, sure, there is a call or two a game, I am sure, that are not good. But to say you don't like the way he plays, no, I like the way he plays. He brings variety to the game. He shows that you can succeed within 10 feet of the basket. I like to see a guy shoot threes. I like that Giannis has started to shoot threes. I like that he's diversified his game. But you go to the basket and good things happen. And it's important to know that that's possible. Like, I'm sorry that right now it's working against the Celtics, but I've got to know that there's room for diversity of play style in today's NBA. Text on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. Would he not like Giannis's play style if he was wearing Celtics green? I think that's a fair point. I think that the way he's probably looking at this is like, well, you hate it if it's not for your team, but if it's yours, you love it. Well, fine. But I just don't have a problem with it. I'd have to really watch tonight and see how many calls he's totally gifted. But I'm always under the impression that Giannis isn't just gifted a lot of stuff. Like, he gets hit. Now, you might think he could absorb more, or you might think that he doesn't need to go to the line as often as he does. But I think he generally earns what he gets inside. And here's the other thing. Giannis's play style yields a lot of benefits, right? It also can hurt him. There's going to be a day where he goes 6 of 15 at the line. There's going to be a day where he goes 11 of 20 at the line, and they're putting him on the line because they want to. So I have no problem with it. I have no problem with the way that Giannis plays. I do have a problem, by the way, though, with Marcus Smart not getting 3 free throws at the end of the game the other day. I am not a blame the official guy. Like, if Jason Tatum doesn't go 4 for 19, the Celtics win that game. But Marcus Smart was shooting. I went back and looked at the replay again, and it just became apparent to me. It just became apparent to me that the ball is in his shot pocket. He's coming off the dribble handoff with Jaylen Brown. There's 4 seconds left. He's got to get a shot off. I didn't see anybody over to his right that he could have just dished it to. He was clearly going for a 3. Now, it doesn't mean that he would have made every shot, but he was going for it. Jamie says, you can't just come down and run people over. It's an offensive foul, and it happens 7 to 10 times a game where he does this, and once, if we're lucky, does he get called for the offensive foul. I'd have to look at it again. I will be watching tonight, obviously, like you. I will have to go and really make a conscious effort to just watch that. I think there are times where defensive players flop and there's a correct no call. I think that far too many offensive fouls are called in the NBA in the first place. I think there should be just more no calls in general. And as far, like, when I think about taking a charge, I think if Giannis comes down the lane and the guy stands there like he's setting a pick and takes the hit, that would be an offensive foul. But if you stand there and try to engage in defense and you just get back down because he's so much bigger than you, I don't consider that to be an offensive foul. But I will watch tonight from a different angle, and I will just kind of wait and see I will look and see if I agree with what Andy Hart is saying and if what Jamie is saying is true as well. Because I just think you go to the hoop, good things happen. I think Giannis earns a lot of what he's being given. All right. No Red Sox baseball today. Thank goodness for all of us. Sox taking on the Braves tomorrow. Our coverage will begin at 6:20. Sox are going to be, again, without Michael Wacha. Let's see. So Jamie says, no, you're not going to be able to watch it as critically today because the Celtics are going to get the benefit today because they're going to get makeup calls. So you're not going to be able to see it at its worst effect. We'll see. I don't know. I will be interested in watching specifically for that storyline of how many plays Giannis gets given. So no Red Sox baseball tonight. We got a lot more Red Sox talk tomorrow. Actually, a very good question on the text line I want to answer tomorrow, too, about what I would do if I were the Red Sox. Remind you, by the way, the show is brought to you in part by Pro Driver Training. That's Pro Driver Training. They are Vermont's premier truck driver training school, online at prodrivercdl.com. That's prodrivercdl.com. Class A CDL, Class B CDL, passenger and advanced skills training as well. Norwich University men's lacrosse headed to the NCAA tournament. We're going to check in with their head coach, Neil Anderson, next on DEV.
Do you have joint pain in your knees or hips or shoulder or back? Pro football legend Emmitt Smith knows how disruptive it is.
How can you focus? How can you be at your optimal best when your body's under attack by pain?
That's why Emmitt's such a proponent of QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is here with regenerative options using natural biologics, non-surgical alternatives that offer lasting relief for pain in your knees, hips, lower back, and shoulders.
This natural biological treatment gives them the chance to get back in the game and to have a normal life.
QC Kinetics treatments laser focus on areas of intense pain, allowing your body to heal itself with no drugs, so you can focus on normal life.
Walking up the stairs without pain, getting on your bicycle without pain, running again, playing with the kids.
Your consultation is absolutely free. Call QC Kinetics today.
802-PAINLESS. That's 802-PAINLESS. QC Kinetics. 802-PAINLESS. That's 802-PAINLESS.
The ones that matter most are the children. There is a special place in South Dakota. A place of hope, love, safety, and opportunity for Native American children. This place is St. Joseph's Indian School. Here, we preserve traditions, provide Lakota kids a safe place to learn, attend to the mind, body, heart, and spirit of every child in our care.
As a father, I feel very good about leaving my kids here, and they have way more opportunities here.
I can come on campus and I can feel the good vibes, and the children, they can really grow.
Together, we are giving Lakota children brighter futures and a proud connection to their past. To learn more, go to helplakotakids.org today.
If you have ever thought about remodeling your bathroom but were worried it would take too long or cost too much, then stop worrying. Right now, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has designed a collection of high-quality custom products and perfected the one-day remodeling experience so you can enjoy your new bathroom faster than ever before. It's a worry-free bath remodel from the most trusted brand name in the business, Jacuzzi. For a virtual or in-home appointment, call 800-826-9895. That's 800-826-9895. 800-826-9895.
DQ presents the sound of an all-star summer lineup. Leading off, the promising rookie, new Oreo Dirt Pie. On deck, the fan favorite Girl Scout Thin Mints. Summer standouts, Drumstick with peanuts and cotton candy. And batting cleanup, it's you. With your red spoon and 6 summer blizzard flavors, official treat of MLB. All part of the new DQ All-Star Summer Blizzard lineup. DQ? Happy tastes good.
Want Brady to hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. That's a little beautiful day by U2 there on that bumper. Did you see the video over the weekend? How cool was it? Bono and the Edge from U2 playing in the Kyiv, Ukraine train station, which is now a shelter. I don't know how many songs they played, but they were singing With or Without You. They were also singing with some Ukrainian service members, military members. Powerful video. I know that Bono had tweeted out that President Zelensky of Ukraine had invited him to come and play, and that's what him and the Edge did. Super cool video that was going out on YouTube yesterday. I saw a lot of it on Twitter. I don't know a whole lot about music, but I do like U2. I've actually seen U2 in concert. My dad loves U2, loves Bono, loves the Edge, so certainly it's a group that I followed here for a long time, but that was really, really cool. A guy who knows way more about music than me, he's coming up next, and that's George Thomas, as Jazz with George Thomas kicks off at 7 o'clock here. So we have just a couple of minutes left, and I want to go out to the phone line because it was a really great local sports weekend. We had 3 lacrosse teams on the college scene punch their tickets to the NCAA tournament. We had the UVM men winning the America East title by beating UMBC. We had the UVM women winning the America East title by beating UAlbany on the road. And we had the Norwich University men punching their ticket by beating LaSalle 11-8 in the GNAC championship at Sabine Field. And joining us now is the head coach of the Norwich University men's lacrosse program, headed back to the NCAA tournament. It's Neil Anderson with us now on the Brady Farkas Show. Coach, congratulations. How are you?
Good. Thank you, Brady, for that great introduction. I'm psyched to be here on a Monday. I'm still riding that championship high.
Well, appreciate you being with us. 18-1, unbeaten in conference play. You don't have to say it. I'll say it for you. Why do you have to play in this kind of play-in game on the outside of the bracket?
It's always a good question. I think looking at the big picture, traditionally, this is the third time we punch our ticket at the NCAA. We could do a better job strength of schedule outside of conference in terms of getting a higher seed. But I think any way you dice it, we're going to run through the NESCAC, a top seed. This year, once again, Tough Jumbos is in the high part of our bracket. But fortunately, we've got a nice first-round matchup against Maine Maritime, another service academy. So it's going to be a bloodbath on Wednesday. Watch out.
What's it going to be like? The negative is, what we just said, kind of this play-in game. The positive is you get a home game in the NCAA tournament. What's that going to be like?
Yeah, I wish I knew. I think coming off this weekend where we got to host our league tournament, being able to play in front of our home crowd, but also sleep in kind of our own beds. Up here in central Vermont, we travel far for a lot of our games. So to have the home field advantage is something we take a lot of pride in. We definitely used it to our advantage this year. So to get a first round home game, we set a lot of precedents in terms of statistics and then record. To get a first round play, I think this is a pretty incredible experience for our guys, but also our Norwich University family.
It's always interesting when you are a spring sports team that plays deep into a season. You guys have already had graduation and commissioning and commencement. Some guys are probably already home from finals and all that. Your guys are balancing finals. So what was the crowd like? How many people are left on campus to support you at this point?
Another great question. They come out of the woodwork. It's like Cadillacs Nation. Cadet lacrosse, you hyphenate, call it Cadillac. So that's what I'm going to refer to a couple of times. We travel well. The parents are phenomenal. How about all our administrators, our coaches? They are going to have to buckle up again and host another one this weekend. But yeah, it poses a significant challenge for us. It's kind of we go through the last regular season games and the seeding games with a lot on our plate. So graduation, we had to host the quarterfinals right before graduation. But once we get through it, we're now like professional lacrosse players. We get to rest, recover. We get to rehydrate and then try to find that next level when it matters the most. So it's kind of a give and take. I think at this point in our season, we are kind of battling that is the grass greener on the other side, right? People want to start their spring break, their summer breaks. But I mean, we've got a very dedicated crew. I think we're going to take full advantage of this week. We're also starting, because we're a military school, guys are being asked to get into their military training a little bit earlier. Tommy Hopkins, a sophomore, he's on the National Guard right now. He couldn't be there for championship game. We had an incredible freshman, Andrew Vernon, step up and take his place. Had an outstanding performance championship game, and we're going to be looking to do that again this week. But hopefully we'll have the team intact for this entire week as we move forward.
Neil Anderson, Norwich University men's lacrosse coach, with us here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. You've been in Norwich more than a decade now, 3 NCAA tournament berths, a lot of success in the GNAC. How have you built this in Northfield?
Patience, persistence, and perspective, right? Those 3 Ps. A true Division III experience where our guys are asked not only high-end academics, but the military training. We have civilian students here too that take part in high-end academics. But just to balance athletics on top of all those other responsibilities is a chore. So the perspective aspect, there's give and take all across campus. I think we do a really good job with the life lessons, making quality decisions. We're going to have to concede some games. We keep a bigger roster because of that, and we also empower our underclassmen to be ready at any given time, right? Case in point, like I said, our goalie freshman just won a championship banner. He didn't see that coming, neither did we early season.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing your team play against Maine Maritime Wednesday afternoon, 4 o'clock at Sabine Field. And Neil, I don't know if you remember this. I almost led with this, but like a decade ago, I worked at Norwich, and you and I had some noon hoops battles. I don't know if you remember those, but I do. I hope you're still playing noontime lunch basketball, even in the midst of a tournament run.
Brady, I'm glad you mentioned. I wasn't going to bring it up either unless it came up. We are still active, and one of the best traditions at Norwich University is noontime hoops. If you ever are in the neighborhood, bring your basketball shoes. We'd love to, show you how many fouls I got during that hour-long break.
Well, I've got a Norwich University lacrosse hat, not on today, but I've still got it that you gave me back there in the spring of 2013. So I still have it as a part of my wardrobe. So I'll bust it out for Wednesday. Coach Anderson, best of luck. Congratulations on a great season. It's not over just yet.
Yeah, thank you, Brady. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for all you do.
Yeah, there goes Neil Anderson, Norwich University men's lacrosse coach. Yeah, those noon hoops games were awesome. That is a long-standing tradition at Norwich, playing hoops Monday, Wednesday, Friday between noon and 1. And, everybody in the university is invited to it. I mean, I used to play, and I played every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I was based in the gym. I was 22 years old. I was a young punk. I was athletic. I wanted to play. I wanted to keep being active. So, we played with the rugby coaches, women's basketball coaches, men's basketball coaches. We played with people from admissions. It didn't matter. Everybody was invited. Those were good games. And Coach Anderson was super athletic. Now, he played pro lacrosse for, I think, 7 years in the pro lacrosse league. Played some of that time for the Boston Cannons, who maybe some of you have heard of. But super athletic. Could get a little wild. I don't mean like wild in a bad way. Just mean moving fast. Like he would move fast. He'd be flailing all around, but real quick, super athletic. Those were. I think I wore my welcome out at those games. I think I took them too seriously. But Coach Anderson, a good guy, a good basketball player, a great lacrosse player, and now for the third time in his tenure, his cadets are headed to the NCAA tournament by beating LaSalle again in the GNAC championship. Wednesday, they'll take on Maine Maritime. I hate the play-in games. I really do. And I get what he is saying, and he's saying the politically correct answer, and he's being diplomatic about it. Hey, we can play different outside of our league and all that. I've always felt like if you win your league tournament, you should be fully in to the tournament field. And I'm not fully schooled on how Division III lacrosse does it. It's a smaller field than basketball, et cetera. It's not what we have in Division I. So maybe what I want isn't feasible or isn't possible. But I got to think that somewhere an at-large team is getting in while Norwich is bumped to this play-in game. And I'm just not a fan of that. If you win your tournament, you should be in. And we see the same thing on the men's side in lacrosse for Division I, UVM. Right, UVM wins the America East Conference tournament, the title, and now they're in the play-in game also on Wednesday. Their game's at 6 against Manhattan, but they're also not. We got 6 Ivy League teams in the tournament, right? 6 Ivy League teams in the men's tournament, and we've got UVM, the America East champion, here being pushed off to the side of the bracket. So I hate that. Always have. Cool connection, by the way, in that UVM men's lacrosse game, in that play-in game. They're going to take on Manhattan, as I said. Drew Kelleher is the head coach at Manhattan. He played 4 years at UVM and was a standout. Drew Kelleher is actually going to join us on the show tomorrow. So tomorrow we've got a kind of short-ish show. We're on until 6:20, so usually we're off at 6:05 or 6:10, but Red Sox baseball tomorrow, 6:20. The Sox taking on the Atlanta Braves for a 2-game mini-series down against the defending champions. So Drew Kelleher will be with me. We're firming up a time. I don't know if it's going to be 5:45, 6:05 or what, but Drew Kelleher will be with me there as UVM gets set to host Manhattan on Wednesday in their NCAA tournament first round in quotes game. So thank you to Adam Kaufman, WBZ News Radio in Boston, for stopping by. Neil Anderson as well. Plenty to get to tomorrow. Celtics Bucks game 4 coming up about 35 minutes from now or so, 7:30 there with the tip-off from Milwaukee. So hopefully the C's can tie it up. Hopefully no calls, ill-fated calls at the end of that game. So we'll see what happens. We'll talk about it all tomorrow. Jazz with George Thomas is next. Thankfully, no Red Sox baseball tonight to disappoint us. We'll get back into the Sox tomorrow as well. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. It's the Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com.
Even when we can't be together, Vermonters know we can count on community. Now more than ever, we need to invest in that community. When you invest in Vermont with the Vermont Community Loan Fund, you're investing in Vermonters. Vermonters working the land, growing local food. Vermonters growing local businesses and creating quality jobs. Vermonters building community, one affordable home at a time. And Vermonters educating and caring for the next generation of Vermonters. The Vermont Community Loan Fund's impact investors are investing in equity, access, and opportunity for all Vermonters. A Vermont that lives up to its promise. A Vermont for all Vermonters. Join us. You can invest in Vermont with the Vermont Community Loan Fund. Learn more at investinvermont.org. That's investinvermont.org. Northfield